Welcome back to a timey-wimey pod where we watch every episode of Doctor Who from 2005 onwards. My name's Rebecca,
I'm Haley.
and today we are discussing the 2006 Christmas special, The Runaway Bride. Merry Christmas!
Merry Christmas, y'all. It's only October, but welcome to Christmas season here on our podcast.
Yes, for the next however long it takes us to talk about this episode, let's all just pretend it's December 25th. You're drinking hot chocolate, opening gifts from your family, and just getting ready to settle down watching a Doctor Who Christmas special.
That sounds so nice right now, actually.
I know. Are you ready for some fantastic facts?
Yes, I am.
Like I said, this aired December 25th, 2006. It was written by Russell T. Davies and directed by none other than Euro Slynn.
Great combination.
Now, for legal reasons, the scene where 10 is at the ATM and all the cash starts flying everywhere, they had to use fake money for that scene. They can't use real money. So they specially printed $10 bills or whatever they call a dollar, I don't know, that featured the 10th Doctor's face and a phrase that said, I promise to pay the bearer on demand the sum of 10 satsumas and no second chances. I'm that sort of man. And then they had $20 bills with producer Phil Collinson on them. And he had a quote that said, There's no point being grown up if you can't be a little childish sometimes, which is a Fourth Doctor quote.
I love that. I never at any point thought it was real money. Obviously, they wouldn't do that, but it's so funny that they specially designed the money used and didn't just use fake random money you can just order online somewhere. That's really funny.
If anyone has those David Tennant bills somewhere, I feel like that would be worth kind of a lot.
No, that's what I was just thinking. And if you have an extra one, send it our way.
Please do. Please do. This episode was originally meant for series 2. And we would have had Donna appearing in the TARDIS to Rose and 10 at the end of the Age of Steel.
Excuse me?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Never in my Doctor Who lore, Mind Palace, have I ever heard this concept. And I don't know what to think or how to react to it.
First off, I'd love Rose in this episode. I'd love more Rose and Donna in general. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. They decided to make it the Christmas special when they got the green light that they could have another Christmas special. And then they ended up making room for Tooth and Claw so they could have that episode and build up the Torchwood arc more. So very timey-wimey, kind of crazy how everything worked out. So if we did have this episode in series 2, we wouldn't have had Tooth and Claw.
Honestly, they should have kept Tooth and Claw, kept this episode, and taken out Love and Monsters or The Girl in the Fireplace.
Oh my gosh. Wait, you're so right. They were like, no, we have to have Love and Monsters. It's crucial. There was a deleted moment in this episode.
What's the deleted moment?
So, you know the scene in the TARDIS where Donna finds Rose's clothing, her shirt, whatever that's supposed to be. And Ten's like, oh, it's my friend. And then he grabs it. Well, there's a cut moment where Ten throws the clothing outside the TARDIS into space.
Excuse me?
Mm-hmm. Producer Julie Gardner said they cut it because it was just too melodramatic. And I'm kind of glad they cut it, to be honest.
Me too. It's too much.
Yeah, it would have been sad to see him get rid of it.
I know. That's what I was thinking.
Okay, we get to meet the fantastic, the wonderful, the brilliant Donna Noble in this episode. And I know people don't like Donna in this episode and they think she's mean and they think she's annoying, But I've always liked Donna, even from the very beginning. Before anything else, I've always liked her here. And you know what? She was under a lot of stress. She had a lot going on. So I don't care. I've always liked her.
So, my first impression of Donna the first time I watched this episode was I really, really liked her, but I also felt like she was a lot and she was very, very different from Rose. But I kind of liked that she was really, really different and it was just like a completely new, different dynamic than what we had seen before with the Doctor. And I feel like I'll get more into this later, but I feel like he really needed that and the audience needed that. Without getting too ahead of myself, I think the reason I love Donna so much is because this isn't the only episode we have with her. I feel like if this was the only episode we had with her, maybe I would feel differently. But because I know how she progresses, I love her, like, from here on, if that makes sense.
Definitely. I loved watching this and just thinking like, oh, this is just the beginning. And like now we have the 60th and like we know her whole story arc and everything that happens to these characters. And it's just kind of fun to look back here and see how it all began and how important Donna and the Doctor become to each other.
For sure.
And David and Catherine just had that chemistry right off the bat.
Oh, they definitely did. And I think it really set the scene for me as a viewer of how much of a platonic relationship I love the Doctor to have with his companions. I mean, we have Rose. We love Rose. We have River in the future. We love River. But seeing this like platonic friendship dynamic is something I want to see more of. And I mean, it's something we saw with 15 and Ruby. And again, I hope we see more of it because I feel like it's really fun and brings out a different side of the Doctor.
Yes, like I love these kind of dynamics, like the Donna and 10s, the Amy and 11s, the Bill and 12, like the just pure platonic friendships, you know, jumping off of each other, bantering. There's just nothing better.
So we've shared our impressions of Donna, but what was your first impression of the episode as a whole? Because I personally have always loved this episode.
Me too.
But I've recently discovered that is not a widely held belief.
Yeah, I've always really liked this episode. It's like kind of a comfort episode for me. I don't know where it would end up in my, if I had to rank the Christmas specials, I don't know where it would end up in that ranking because compared to all the other Christmas specials, it's definitely one of the weaker ones, but it's also like a comfort one for me. So I don't know. I kind of love it still. But yeah, I've always really enjoyed this episode. I think it's the perfect little break after Doomsday. A little fun treats with hints of sadness and everything. And it's just a good breaker between Doomsday and Smith and Jones. But what were your first impressions of this episode?
Like I said, I've always really enjoyed this episode. I always have a good time watching it. I never skip it usually on rewatches. In saying that though, like you, like I don't know where it would fall in my ranking just compared against the other Doctor Who Christmas specials, but I do love it and I love the Doctor and Donna dynamic and I think that's like the biggest thing in this episode that I love the most.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
And I feel like there's just honestly a lot of really iconic moments in this Christmas special too.
Oh, there really is. And a lot that kind of moves the plot forward in a lot of different ways.
And I feel like too, this kind of builds some things up for series 3 and series 4.
No, completely. It really does. One thing I want to mention, I really like how we don't get that many TARDIS scenes. Well, actually, we get a good amount in this episode. And I really like how the TARDIS is lit. I haven't talked about this yet, but sometimes in series 2, the TARDIS is so dark and everyone has that like blue light on their faces and it just looks really bad. but I think they finally start brightening it up a little bit in the series. It gets warmer, you can see people clearly, and it just makes me really happy because it looks so much better.
That's such a great point, and I definitely had moments in series 2 where I just wasn't a fan of the lighting.
I love all the moments when 10 is just like rambling on about something, talking 10 miles a minute, and Donna just slaps him. It's just great.
She really can shut him up, and it's always really funny to watch. And the way like this episode opens up with Donna walking down the aisle with her dad, and like Lance at the altar waiting for her, and everyone in the audience, including Neris, which for some reason I always thought we'd like had heard of Neris but had never seen her face. No, we see Neris in this episode.
I always forget that we see her, and yeah, I'm was with you. She's just like a faceless figure.
Yeah.
We need a 10-part series into Donna and Neris's relationship. Are they
Yeah.
friends? Are they enemies? Rivals? What is going on here? I
What's
need
the
to
lore?
know. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we get like snippets here and there throughout Donna's tenure in the show, and it's just simply not enough. We need an expose, we need a docu-series, and we need
Mm-hmm.
it now.
We do.
Because like she immediately, her first thought when she discovered she was on the TARDIS instead of walking down the aisle, her first thought was that Neris put her up to it. I'm sorry,
Oh my
girl.
goodness.
If that happened to me when I was walking down the aisle, you're the last person I would ever think of having something to do with it.
I was gonna ask you this later, but I'll just ask you now. I cannot believe they had the reception without her. What would
It
you do?
was diabolical.
It was diabolical. It's so sad too. What would you do if I disappeared mid aisle? Would you have the reception without me and just not care?
No, I would not have the reception without you. I would organize everyone in groups and give them different places to search, places to call.
Thank you. Good
See
to
if they
know.
could find like a hacker to hack into all of your information and bank details and
Oh
whatever.
no.
And then of course like find some sort of like, I don't know, contact for Torchwood.
I would do the same.
Or not Torchwood, Unit. Sorry. Unit.
Oh, yeah. I'd rather a unit be on the look for me.
Yeah. I'm glad you would do the same because I would be really, really, really angry and would never forgive you or anyone else if they had the reception without me. That is my
Yeah.
reception I paid for. I don't care that it's Christmas Eve. I don't care that everything's there ready to be used. I really don't care. Like,
No.
don't have it without me.
No. Also, a Christmas Eve wedding, diabolical. Don't do that.
I'm sorry. I have my routines. I have my traditions.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're really, really close to me, I'm not coming to your Christmas Eve wedding.
No, absolutely not. Especially because you're just having it because you don't care about Christmas.
Which, like, honestly, I didn't put much thought into before now, but I'm like, what did Christmas do to Donna to make her not like it that much?
I know. We also need that investigated.
We really do. Something else we need to be investigated, which I was going to talk about this later, but we can talk about it now. Okay, so the whole reason why Lance was working with Racnoss, he literally said he wanted to like see what was out there in space, but that was his whole motivation. Sir, why are you working with an alien while poisoning a woman who's falling in love with you? Like, why are you doing that?
Yeah, how did he think that was going to work out for him? Like, what did he think was going to happen?
Exactly. I also kind of want to know, like, did the Racnoss just like knock on his door, call him up, like send him a letter? Like, how was he contacted? Did he just know? Was it H.T. Clements himself who gave Lance the information? Like, I don't know.
That is such a good question, and I've never thought about that before in my life.
Russell, there is apparently a lot in this episode that needs to be investigated and answered by you. all of these years later.
We will be drilling him about how Lance and the Racnoss know each other when he comes on the pod.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, I feel like we need to talk about all the Rose mentions and just get it out of the way.
We
Okay, there's a
do.
lot. This is really like the Rose funeral episode.
It really is. And I remember telling you this the other day, but I feel like when I watched this episode and all of series 3 for the first time, I was like, Rose is never mentioned. But every time I rewatch series 3 and rewatch The Runaway Bride, I'm like, oh my gosh, The Runaway Bride, like you said, is like a Rose funeral episode.
No, she's mentioned constantly.
And I love that for her because she needs to be mentioned constantly.
Okay, so first we get Donna finding Rose's shirt, which is that the New Earth shirt? Because it kind of looks like it, but also no, it doesn't.
I'm pretty sure it is the New Earth shirt.
Yeah, I can never decide, no matter how many times I watch this, if it
Really?
is or isn't, but it probably is. I don't know.
Oh. Yeah, I've always just assumed it was the New Earth shirt.
Yeah, but I really love just how David responds and he says, "That's my friends," like all solemn and sad. And how Donna's, yelling at first and she's like, "Well, you can hurry up and lose me." And then she sees how sad he is and is like,
Yeah.
what happened? Like, they both do that so well, and I love that moment.
Me too. Then there's the moment where Donna is in the taxi being driven by a Santa robot, and Ten is chasing her down the highway with his TARDIS, which, side note, I'll get to the Rose mention in a second, but just imagine being like a person in your car on that highway, seeing the TARDIS and seeing a Santa robot. Like, what would you even think?
I don't know. I love that scene, and I love the kids' reactions and them like cheering. It's one of my favorites.
It's so great. But then Ten is like, Donna, you gotta jump in. Which, Donna, I'm sorry. I love you, Queen, but you should have jumped in like immediately.
I'd be scared too. I don't think I could. It would take me a second.
Okay, actually, that's fair. So maybe I take that back. But Ten is like, Donna, you have to trust me. And Donna's like, is that what you said to her? The one you lost? And he says, yes, she did. And she's not dead. She is so alive. Now jump.
Ugh, no, I love that moment. And David's face is just so perfect. And because of this scene, I really think that just the fact that Rose is alive and safe in a parallel world really keeps him going. Just knowing that she is okay and safe and alive.
For sure.
I also love in this scene when he's telling her to jump and she says, "I'm in my wedding dress." And he says, "Yes, you look lovely. Come on." It's so good.
And then there's the rooftop scene where he mentions how he spent last Christmas at the Powell estate with the Tylers.
With his friend and her family.
That one hurts. Hurts even more than the last mention, than the previous mentions.
Yeah, that one always kills me.
Especially because of the parallel at the end of this episode.
Yeah, I know.
Compared to the Christmas invasion.
Yeah. And then probably my favorite is the Love Don't Roam scene. We get the iconic Murray Gold's original song, Love Don't Roam, which is just the perfect Ten song. It just really is. And Ten sees one blonde and is instantly depressed. It just takes one blonde woman that looks nothing like Rose, by the way.
No.
But he's immediately having war flashbacks, and it's so sad. And I always find it funny that they use the clip of him grabbing her at the end of New Earth instead of a scene where they were actually dancing together, like in the Doctor dances.
No, I know. Like, I understand why they didn't do the Dr. Dances one, although
Yeah.
that would have been so good and fit much better because I feel
Mm-hmm.
like wasn't that when Cassandra was possessing
Well,
her?
it was when Cassandra left her body and went to Chip.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Yeah.
actually, okay, that makes more sense. But yeah, like you said, he sees a blonde and he's instantly reminded of Rose and depressed.
Yeah.
And you can just like see the tears in his eyes in this scene.
His
It's
face is
so
so good. And the moment right before that when he sees Torchwood on the phone and
mm,
so like the face acting from David in this episode, 10 out of 10.
completely. The Love Don't Roam scene is very, very close, but my favorite Rose mention is at the end of this episode.
Yeah, this is a good one.
It's a great one, and we'll talk more about that because I have a lot I want to say about that scene.
Mm-hmm. Same.
By the way, Donna and Jackie Tyler literally would have
Stop.
gone along so
They
well.
so would have.
I really want to see them now.
Yeah, you're so right.
They would both be making fun of the doctor, and it would be iconic.
Oh, completely.
There's a moment I didn't really pay much attention to in the past, but watching this episode, I noticed like the whole rooftop scene.
Mm-hmm.
After everything, goes crazy and has gone haywire, Donna tells Tin, she's like, "It's not your fault." And he says, "Oh, that's a change." But the way he says it made me like really think about that. And I guess I've just always assumed he just meant like that day because Donna berated him for most of the episode about like
Mm-hmm.
messing up her wedding, which like honestly I would probably do the same thing. So I can't fully blame
Yeah.
Donna. But then I kind of came to the realization I think he means in general. Like he blames himself for so much and he's been told by so many people and different like creatures over the years
Mm.
as the doctor, just like, oh, this is your fault, and him internalizing that. And so when Donna is like, oh, it's not your fault, he's really like, oh, that's a change for once. But I think it's just like also really raw and fresh because he just lost Rose with how he's saying
Yeah,
that.
I never really thought about that. And that is really interesting coming off of Doomsday, where Torchwood ruined everything, and Torchwood was kind of his and Rose's fault in a way.
Yeah,
Another thing I love about this rooftop scene is when he gives Donna his jacket.
I know. It's so cute. And I love how she immediately responds by saying, "You're skinny, man. This jacket wouldn't even fit a rat."
Mm-hmm. No, I love it. So funny. It's time to talk about my enemy,
Oh, please tell me who.
Lance. And Lance, if I see you, it's on sight.
Oh, I completely agree. That man is so horrible and honestly, he deserved to die at the end. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
even going to lie to you. Like trash.
Yeah. No, he's so terrible to her, manipulated her, lied to her for, again, for like what? Even for what?
Exactly.
And the scene when they realized, Lance was working with the Racnoss the whole time, and Donna says, "But I love you." And Lance is like, "That's what made it so easy." And he's just like dragging on her and complaining about how horrible she was. And, no, I hate this man.
And you also see Donna, like as he's telling her all of that, you just see like she's shattered and he just continues to
Hmm.
rub it in.
No, it's so sad.
Like truly, truly awful and so devastating for Donna. I can't imagine being a fiance, having a husband, sort of, being widowed, sort of, all on the same day.
Yeah, crazy. I love the scene where Donna's telling Ten about how they met and how they got together, and she's like, "He just kept asking me and asking me," and we see flashbacks, and it's her just begging to get married. Which, like, girl, get up, stand up. But I get it. We see the return of the killer Christmas trees in this episode.
And the Santa robots. And
Mm-hmm.
These are two classic RTD Christmas special
Hmm.
characters, and I want to emphasize how much I love killer Christmas trees in Doctor Who and the Santa robots. I don't care if they're cheesy or cringy. I literally do not care. I love them no matter what.
I do love the Santa robot mask. They are really freaky.
They are. But can we talk about how the reception when like all the ornaments started coming off the trees and then Sylvia's like,
Yeah.
the Christmas trees won't do anything. Like, you're insane. Which, oh my gosh, we haven't even talked about Sylvia at all.
Oh, don't get me started.
Yeah, I think we'll like hold off on talking about her much for this episode. Sylvia, you're the worst mother in Doctor Who. I'm sorry. You just are.
Hmm.
But like the ornaments coming off the Christmas trees and then becoming basically like mini bombs, that was kind of freaky.
I know. And I really realized for the first time bombs were going off everywhere and people really were hurt. And I just realized how traumatizing this wedding became.
No, I know. It's like the bride disappeared
Hmm.
suddenly, and then it's like a story, funny story, like for your friends for all the years to come. But then, like,
Hmm.
ornament bombs, that's trauma. Like,
Yeah.
can you imagine?
No. On Christmas Eve, too. And then later that night, there's a star in the sky shooting at everyone.
No, absolutely not.
Worst wedding ever. Really.
Honestly, this is why you shouldn't have a wedding on Christmas Eve.
No. What do you think of the Racnoss?
Okay, I simultaneously love and hate how the Racnoss looks. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think they did such a good job and it stood up well over time, but I also
Mm-hmm.
hate it, if that makes sense, because it's so creepy and I don't like spiders of any kind or anything like them, but like, I don't like, I don't know. It's a complicated relationship, but I like it and hate it. What about you?
I do really like it. I kind of want to see more of the Racnoss and the way she talks. Like, I know people say it really bugs them, but I kind of like it. There's something about it that's, I don't know, I kind of like it. According to the internet, the scene where the doctor tells the Racnoss that he's from Gallifrey is the first time Gallifrey is name dropped in New Who, which the internet says it's so, but I also feel like that's not true.
I was about to say, I feel like we've had a Gallifrey name drop already.
I I agree, but I'm like maybe we don't, and I can think of all these moments where the doctor is talking about his home and where he's from, but I don't know. I can't think of any specific moment where he says Gallifrey.
Yeah, I guess so. That still feels so wrong.
I know, it really does. What do you think of the scene where they go back in time and see the Earth forming around the Racnoss ship?
I really like this scene, and I especially like the whole conversation between the doctor and Donna just kind of having this realization that what she went through was awful and she's still feeling all of those emotions, but she's just kind of having this moment where her thinking is, or maybe her perspective would be a better word to use. Her perspective is just shifted a little
Mm.
bit. She's like seeing the like beginning of the earth, and she's seeing all of like these things she had never seen before in space and time with the doctor, and she's realizing that like there's a bigger picture. Like the whole gag of this episode is that she's not
Mhm.
seeing the bigger picture, and I feel like in this scene for the first time she is, and I just really like this scene, and I really like that Tin is like, oh, the human race, you make sense out of the chaos, and I just really like how he says that.
Me
And I
too.
love the visuals. I feel like the visuals are really pretty.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. I do really like that scene, and especially 10 talking and making sense out of the chaos with calendars and Christmas. And it's like, yeah, that kind of is what we do.
Yeah. I don't know if you remember this, but do you remember back in the day, like how big segways were?
Yes, I feel like Segways really had a moment for a while.
Oh, they definitely had a moment, and rewatching this when they're all on the segways and like the basement going to like where the Racnoss is. I feel like there's going to be a whole generation of people watching this Christmas special and not understanding Segway lore, and it's just like blown my mind. And I know that's really stupid, but like I find it so funny. But like, what are other people's opinions on it going to be?
Yeah, I don't know. Who here remembers TanaCon and the man on the Segway?
The real ones know. The real
Yeah.
ones know.
I love that Segway scene, and Ten's face is so serious, so oncoming storm, and then he and
Mhm.
Donna just start laughing about how ridiculous they look.
No, it's so great. I love it so, so much. And I love that, like, when they're in, like, the room down under the Thames, because we find out it's under the Thames River, and they're in the room where the Racnoss is. I love Tim's comment where he's like, oh, drilled by laser, very Torchwood, and referring to, like,
Hmm.
the 4,000-mile long hole. Or is it 4,000
No,
feet? That makes more sense than
that's
mile.
no, that's crazy.
It's so crazy, but the comment just made me laugh. And something I don't fully understand is Ten explains why the Racnoss wanted Donna because Lance had been poisoning her with Huon particles. Huon particles were deadly. The Time Lords like deleted them out of existence, but somehow they were able to bring them back and recreate them, like the Racnoss was able to. And the Racnoss needed Donna, a living person with Huon particles, so that all the baby Racnoss come through. What I'm confused of is like, why were they frozen? Like the doctor was like, they were frozen and dead until now, and now they're not.
Yeah, I guess I've never really thought about that, but that you're right, it doesn't really make sense.
Yeah,
We get a Saxon name drop in this episode.
that we do after the doctor defeats the Racnoss. The military, or I would assume unit, actually, I don't know who exactly it was, but someone with a tank hit the Racnoss ship and it exploded on the orders of Mr. Saxon, which this isn't the first mention. Our first mention of Mr. Saxon was all the way back in the Christmas invasion when Harriet Jones got the okay to Torchwood to shoot the Sycorax ship.
Crazy.
So, so crazy. Um, I think we need to go back to talking about Lance. I know we've already talked about him quite a bit, but like, I can't get over the fact he poisoned Donna over the period of 6 months.
No, it's absolutely insane.
And then, like, the way the reveal is and like revealing his true motivations, ugh, I hate it. I hate him so much.
I know, it's so sad. And when he goes up behind the Racnoss with the axe and you think he's going to take her out, and then everything changes. Oh, it's so sad and devastating for Donna.
Mm-hmm. All right, so now it's time to talk about the scene where the Racnoss is destroyed by Ten. And this is a scene where there's quite a bit going on, I feel. Mentally for the doctor, and just like obviously physically with like what he's doing. He's flooding the Racnoss to like drown them out.
Yeah, this is a really crazy scene. It's very Time Lord victorious moment,
Mm-hmm.
and really like heartbreaking, especially as we hear like the Racnoss screaming for her children, and the
Yeah,
Racnoss baby screaming, and the rain and the fire. It's really devastating, and Donna is really the only thing that gets him out of there.
definitely. And Donna tells the doctor, like, doctor, you can stop now. And I feel like this is the moment where Ten realizes like he has Donna, so he has to get out of there alive and he
Mhm.
has to take her with him. Not that he was gonna like leave Donna behind or like lose her or anything, because he said in this episode like he's not planning on losing anyone else.
Mhm.
I think in that moment it was like a Time Lord victorious moment. He's watching the Rachnos get drowned. He gave them a chance to like be reestablished on another planet. They didn't take it because they didn't want to. He knew he had to get rid of them because the spiders were going to literally kill all the humans. But like all of that said, like this is just after Doomsday, and he is so in his like, I don't want to say feelings, but he's just like in his inner darkness that like he just can't stop. Like he doesn't want to leave. And this is something that is like canon. Like later on the show establishes this as canon. So like I'm not just like making this up. So like it's a very emotional and a very dark scene, I feel like, for the Doctor. And it really goes to show just like the importance of a companion for the Doctor, and a companion that can like call out the Doctor and tell him when he needs to stop.
Completely. And Donna says it the best at the end of the episode. Sometimes you need someone to stop you, and he really does.
Absolutely. And like talking about that ending scene, I don't know what it is that like sticks out so much for me, but just that entire scene where Donna tells him that, and where the Doctor makes it snow for Donna. And then Donna invites him for Christmas dinner, and he's just like, you know, I can't. Like, I don't do that. And she's like, but you did before. And he just doesn't respond. And you see how sad he still is about Rose.
Yeah.
And it's so sad. And I love the end where Donna says, Doctor, that friend of yours, what was her name? And he says, her name was Rose. And then the episode ends. Pain.
I know. I love how his voice kind of shakes getting it out. And this is why I love Donna, because of course she would ask what Rose's name was. And she doesn't have to. Like, it doesn't matter, but she does. And I just love that about her. I also love when they're talking about Lance and Donna's like, he deserved it. And then she's like, no, he didn't. And like, she can have both feelings at the same time, angry and mad about how terrible he was, but also she cared about him, at least the person she thought he was.
Absolutely. And I love too that like even with the craziness of the whole wedding day being interrupted, her groom dying, and just like the Racnoss experiencing life with the Doctor, she still just like catches on to what the Doctor needs. And I love that. I love like that dynamic, and I can't wait to talk about like future episodes with her in it. But yeah, like I said, I love this ending scene, and I can't fully tell you why.
Yeah, Donna really kind of reads him to filth in this scene. Like, she understands who he is completely. She's like, yes, it is wonderful and beautiful, but also terrible. And she knows, like, it is like this all the time. It is really dark sometimes. And she knows that she just can't do it. And she knows that he needs someone. So she really understands who he is right away. And I think that is because she sees 10 at his lowest moment, just seconds after he said goodbye to Rose forever.
Yeah, she is the type of person the Doctor really, really needed at this time. And
definitely.
I'm so happy it was Donna. I can't say that enough.
He should have just gone and had Christmas dinner with them.
I know. I always think of that. I'm like, he would have really enjoyed it.
One line that I really liked was when 10 was climbing up the ladder to go see, and he realizes they're under the Thames, and Donna says, well, you better come back. And 10 says, can I get rid of you if I tried? Oh, sir, you have no idea. You have no idea.
Zero idea.
You don't know how right you are. Who's the star of the show?
I think I can speak for both of us. Donna.
Yeah, it's Donna.
She's just so great. You all know, we've already talked about how much we love her.
Yeah. Runner-up to the guy that was filming the wedding and thought she did some sort of magic trick, and then 10 is explaining the Huon particles to him, and he's just like, what's that then?
No, you're right. He is definitely runner-up because
Yeah.
it was great, the whole scene.
What is the heart of this episode?
The heart of the episode is you need someone alongside you.
Yeah.
And also, maybe, like, I don't know, make sure the guy who you're planning to marry isn't associated with an alien.
Don't get married after 6 months. That's my personal advice. Do we have any reviews from the past?
Yes, we sure do. This review made me laugh because of just how annoyed this person was with like something really specific.
Oh, okay.
So this is from December 28th, 2006 by the user White Jedi on IMDb. And they said, I was left pondering over a number of technical issues with this episode. The Doctor explained early on in his first incarnation about the danger of the doors being open while the TARDIS is in flight.
Okay.
Then there's the TARDIS scanner. The TARDIS has always had a scanner, just as the TARDIS has always had a control in the center control console to open the doors. There was no explanation either for the arachnids since the Doctor dealt with the planet of the spiders before he regenerated to his fourth incarnation. These stories are too short and are failing to provide any background. For a franchise that is older than Star Trek, it's coming up short when filling in the gaps, crossing the T's and dotting the I's. Perhaps I'm taking it too seriously, as it does entertain you for a spare 40 minutes or so, providing you ignore Catherine Tate.
Oh, rude.
Rude, and sir, ma'am, whoever you are, respectfully, the difference between the first incarnation of the Doctor and the 10th incarnation of the Doctor is going to be very different. And so is the writing of the show and the rules of the TARDIS, because it's a different showrunner.
They couldn't have the doors open while flying the TARDIS because budget-wise, it was probably impossible.
Yeah, that's probably the actual reason. So it's okay. Take a deep breath. Don't take it so seriously.
Yeah.
This review is by the user David-3827 and was written on January 2nd, 2007. And he said, I really can't understand how anyone could regard this episode as anything but awful. It was thinly scripted and played far too much for laughs. One thing above all really stood out for me, and that was that this Doctor seems to have little regard for anyone but himself and whoever his companion is. So why do I say this? Remember the scene when he is running from the robot Santas, yuck, and they raise their weapons and instruments to fire. How does he escape? By making the cash machine spit out lots of cash and hiding behind all the totally unaware and apparently unimportant passerbys who scramble for the money. I can't imagine any of the previous Doctors behaving with such reckless disregard for the safety of others. I absolutely hated this episode.
Again, I think we're nitpicking a little too much.
Yeah, I just want to know why this is the problem you have with this episode and why it's about Lance.
Yeah. We should be talking about the real villain, Lance.
Exactly. This last review I have was written on June 19th, 2007 by the user 23skidoo-4, and they said, actually I'm going to paraphrase a little just because the review is lengthy, but they said, Catherine Tate is extremely annoying for the first third of the episode, until she gets a chance to calm down. Her final scenes are wonderful. Since Donna was never intended to be a permanent companion, it's hard to judge whether she would have passed muster. Maybe when the time comes for Martha Jones to leave the TARDIS, Donna Noble and Catherine Tate might be given another go. What got me about
it.
No, I know, they literally predicted it.
They really did. Oh my gosh.
They continued and said, what got me about this episode was how it went from comical to action-packed to pitch black in tone within the space of minutes. The use of one name, the Doctor's home planet, mentioned by name for the first time since the 1996 TV movie. Okay, I guess that was right.
Crazy.
They continued saying, turned the episode into one of the darkest episodes of the new Doctor Who, while the use of another name gave it one of the new series' most poignant moments. On first viewing, The Runaway Bride is somewhat off-putting, but watch it a couple of times and the layers begin to reveal themselves.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah.
It is really interesting that they waited so long to name drop Gallifrey, and they waited and they used it at a really interesting moment.
Yeah, they definitely did. And like we were talking about earlier, like it seems so wrong that this was the first name drop, but it is.
Mm-hmm.
But I do really like the whole moment once he mentioned Gallifrey.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I believe that's all we have today. Do you have anything else you want to add?
I think we covered it, but thank you guys so much for listening. I hope you'll enjoy this Christmas special discussion, and we will be back next week when we finally get to discuss Martha Jones in Smith and Jones.
I cannot wait. I am so excited.
Me too.
Until then, don't forget to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at timeyWimeyPod.
And email us anything and everything to timeywimeypod@gmail.com.
And don't forget to leave us a review on whatever podcast platform you listen to us on. And we will talk to you guys next week.
Bye.